Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and I've been doing Defining Duke for a number of years now. It's our Xbox podcast over on Last Stand Media, and we've talked a lot about Halo and its very uncertain future. Do you trust 343 to continue on with the Halo license? Do you spin this thing out to multiple other studios and create spin-off games while you really think hard about what the next mainline game is? And the reason this is such a centerpiece of our conversation so often is because I look at something like Nintendo and Mario, and I think to myself how Nintendo would not let their flagship IP spiral as much as Xbox has with something like Halo. And I personally, as the years have gone on, as a believer in 343, had that trust whittled away, that faith whittled away, and it really fully dissipated with the post-launch support of Halo Infinite, where, as my review documented, I thought Halo Infinite was a solid game, but it needed some work, and the work really wasn't handled until much later into the game's life cycle, and this was kind of third strike and you're out energy for me. So I hate to be the guy stepping into this video where a lot of people I know are very excited, and I have to sit down and go, I'm not super excited about this until I see otherwise, but I'll explain further as we go along here. I will say this, I'm going to keep an open mind. I want Halo to succeed. Combat Evolved is one of my favorite games of all time. The original trilogy is phenomenal. We love Reach. I do think 343 has had some bright spots. I kind of enjoyed 5's multiplayer. I thought 4 had some really cool locations, and I didn't really hate it as much as others did when it came to the single player part, but I could barely tell you anything about the multiplayer. And of course, Halo Infinite had sandbox gameplay elements. The multiplayer was really fun, but unfortunately, 343 has been defined, I think, throughout its Halo tenure with a lot of, you have some high highs and low lows, but it's never been consistently great like we remember with the Bungie days. So I was a bit surprised after all the feedback that Xbox has now gone all in on 343 as they have rebranded to Halo Studios. Like, this is the Halo team now, and there is much more to go into here. An engine swap, multiple Halo projects in development. One of them has seemingly leaked. We'll talk about that, which we covered earlier in the year, but also we can guess what another Halo project will be. So there's much to get into here, but ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into what's going on with Xbox, consider subscribing here. Check out our Xbox podcast, Defining Duke. It's a really great time. Myself and Cog hold it down during some pretty tough times throughout the year, so check it out if you've missed it. But anyway, at the top here, one of the points of emphasis is that Halo Infinite was the last remnants of an old Halo recipe, and they are now, quote, changing the recipe. So the question is, all right, how? It's a brand new engine. We have Unreal Engine 5 stepping in. This was not a surprise to me because my co-host of Defining Duke, Lord Cognito, reported this multiple times. No one picked it up, but he said it multiple times on the show. That's what he's hearing. So for me, I was kind of prepared for this news because Cog seems pretty well connected. And again, this is further proof of that. So people should listen to my co-host a little bit more, just saying. But anyway, Unreal Engine 5, not a major surprise here. Why are they doing this is the big question, especially when you've spent so much time like nurturing the mechanics and the features that would go into the original engine in Slipstream. And now you're abandoning all of that work to move on to another new engine and pretty much start from the ground up. Why do you do something like that? It's because of broader support. When you encounter tech issues and you have a proprietary game engine, if your own engineers cannot figure it out, then you're up shit's creek without a paddle, basically. That's what's happening there. So that's why a lot of developers, we saw CD Projekt Red move over to Unreal Engine as well, because they had problems with Red Engine. And granted, Cyberpunk came out pretty good at the end of a lot of support, but CD Projekt Red looked at Red Engine as an issue there that held them up because you can't go abroad where Unreal, for example, has a lot of dedicated engineers focused on the game engine. So if you get stuck with something, there are people beyond your own workforce that can help you out. It's also great for hiring, which is the whole point of this community video they're making. Is it's great to get some updates on Halo, but this is no doubt a hiring post as they highlight later, and we'll talk about that. But when Unreal Engine is a more familiar engine, it's a third-party engine that you can go ahead and download online for free and start teaching yourself right now today. That's kind of the beauty of it as well. So it increases your hiring pool. And lastly, as they highlighted in this video, it's also the visuals. They talk a lot about a thing called Project Foundry that we're going to get into in a moment here, but they mention how the original Halo, as it came out, was a leader in graphics, and they want to get back to that. And they think Unreal Engine 5, with what it's capable of doing, can do such a thing. And some of the most beautiful games we've seen this generation have been powered by Unreal Engine 5. To me, ultimately, good choice, I think. I think Unreal Engine 5 will benefit this company moving forward. Where I really struggle to buy in is when they start talking about this thing called Project Foundry, which is defined by, in their words, not mine, a research project to prepare for the next steps of making Halo games. And if you watch this video, I would not be too surprised if you were looking at it going, huh, this is like a brand new team working on Halo. It's still 343. So the way they're talking and also rebranding on top of that to Halo Studios is suggesting like this is a new dawn, a new beginning, except barring layoffs and management changes. A lot of this is the same team that was working on Halo for the last 3 games that many people had issues with. So when I hear research project getting to the roots of Halo again, I'm like, this is all Halo Infinite speak. This is the same thing I bought into with the last game, and we know how that went. I think 343 is capable of making a good Halo game, but this feels like where things should have started all that time back when you started working on Halo 4, where we weren't going to be in this situation. But at the end of the day, there's no use in crying over spilled milk, but I look at this and say, they're kind of reusing the same talking points once again when it comes to Halo, going back to the roots. And what does that mean this time? Because it seemed like with Halo Infinite, going back to the roots was Pacific Northwest, Halo Combat Evolved vibes. But what was really missing, in my opinion, is Halo getting an M for Mature rating. I would love to see, with Halo Combat Evolved being my favorite game in the series, something along the lines of 343 Guilty Spark in a modern Halo game, especially with the tech we have powering games now. That scene where you're just walking through this base and it is coated in blood is still so effective to this day, but yet we have yet to see it truly replicated beyond the original Halo trilogy. I'd love to see that level of maturity come back. If that's what they mean by getting back to the roots of Halo, that is step 1 to winning me back. I am so tired of T for teen Halo. Like, let's move on from that. With Project Foundry, they do show off some visuals. They show off the Pacific Northwest that we know and love. They show off a snow level with Forerunner technology. This in particular excited me because one thing I didn't like that was missing from Halo Infinite was snow levels. I know they eventually kind of added it with post-launch support in the multiplayer maps, but I'm talking about the campaign, explorable areas. A lot of us were really hoping for multiple biomes. And then we also see a whole entire level based around the Flood. And they say that Project Foundry dialed in on concept, VFX, characters, vehicles, weapons, and they're building all of that up to then build Halo games with said assets. They also confirmed on their Halo Waypoint post that there are multiple Halo projects in development and they're hiring right now. So let's split those topics into 2. Let's talk about multiple Halo projects. One is obviously the next mainline Halo game. That's a shoo-in. What exactly that ends up being is beyond me at this point, because Halo Infinite, I don't care what anyone says. I know the reports are like, oh, they're not doing any sort of post-launch single-player campaign support. But when you say you're going to support the game for 10 years, your name is Halo Infinite, and you have a story that serves as a soft reboot that also ends on a cliffhanger, I'm under the assumption that you are going to continue to add campaign missions to your game. That obviously never happened. So if you're trying to change up the recipe, do you pick up with a brand new story? Do you reboot from the beginning? There are a lot of questions on the Halo story I have to ask, especially because they also make a choice that really pissed people off in Halo Infinite with a certain loved character in Cortana, and that really began in Halo 4. So again, a lot of story questions here. I personally am of the mindset you just start from scratch again. I think a lot of people just want to do over, myself included, but I think that may not be the case because one of the leaked projects right now is a Halo Combat Evolved, according to Tom Warren, remaster. It's like, okay, remaster is a lot different from remake. And what's really interesting about this is that we have Halo Combat Evolved, then Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition, then that is packaged into Halo Master Chief Collection, which is very accessible, provided it's not just another port that looks prettier for Halo Combat Evolved, which I would not be surprised at all if that's what it is, right? You build up all of this tech. Hey, it's the same Halo Combat Evolved game that you love, except it's much better and powered by Unreal Engine 5. And so all of this Project Foundry investigation and research is really going into this game probably, and then they're going to build out future Halo games with it. That would make the most sense to me when it comes to just building an asset library and making something out of it, because you don't want to just spend all that time purely researching. So I feel like it is going to be a pretty simple, prettier version of Halo Combat Evolved, which for me, as a diehard Halo Combat Evolved fan, sounds great. But me being objective, looking at what I said about PlayStation, how you're kind of re-releasing modern games with a new coat of paint, I will never be a big fan of that. If they can find new ways to reinvent what Combat Evolved did, what it was limited by back then, and what could make it better now, like more freeform mission design, more open-ended areas, that sort of thing, like expanding what the base game already attempted to do, I would be really into that. But we'll see what ends up happening there, what they end up changing. Because the second part of this is they're hiring again. So for those who were not here for any of my Halo coverage, my Xbox coverage, there was a lot of layoffs at 343. The head of the studio's gone. Now Pierre Hintz has stepped in. You have brand new talent all over the board. Joe Staten had left. Kiki Wolfkill is out. Like, the best thing I can say as someone who's covered Xbox for a while, but also reading what the Halo community says and how they feel, is a lot of the, quote, bad actors and actresses who led to Halo's downfall are out of the IP right now, including those who worked on the Halo TV show. So it could be a good time for a fresh restart, which is why, as I said at the beginning of the video, I am going to tackle it with an open mind. But look, you're not going to catch me here pretending to be excited, being like, yeah, let's go, Halo Studio. It's like, no, this is still the same team that fed me 3 games. I really wasn't crazy about every step of the way, and Halo feels like a bygone thing that I wish I could love as much as I did growing up, but just can't. And so now it's just this nostalgic thing that I look back on fondly and go, those were the days, weren't they? And the modern ones really don't do much. And I usually, when I go to hop into Halo, and playing Master Chief Collection, not really playing any modern Halo games. That's where it kind of stands for me. Xbox is going all in, and I'm very curious if this is going to pay off, because here's the reality of the situation. This is a studio that's fumbled multiple times, whether it be quality or success upon release, with Halo Infinite being their biggest success. And Xbox has given them a new lease on life entirely, and has doubled down on the investment in them, where a lot of people are saying pull 343 off the IP. They not only confirm they're working on future Halo games, they confirm they are the Halo studio without question. So I hope Xbox knows what they're doing with this level of commitment, because if the next Halo game comes around and it is not good at all, or it is questionable in quality, it is not a leader in any category, if it is just another first-person shooter, people are going to be more mad about that than anything they experienced during Halo Infinite, where there was a chance to make a change. But they are renewing their faith in 343, and I will sit here patiently and see how it plays out. Certainly, I am open to loving Halo once more beyond the Bungie era and some elements of the 343 era, but this seems like, as they described in their Waypoint post, Chapter 3 of this story, where Chapter 1 was Bungie, Chapter 2 is 343, and Chapter 3 is Halo Studios. We'll see how it plays out. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you today. I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts down below. What do you think of the big change here for 343 into Halo Studios? What do you think is going to happen here with Unreal Engine 5 powered Halo series? And do you think these changes are enough to win you over? Let me know what you're thinking down below. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.